There comes a time in each individual's life when they confront their reflection and realize they haven't been evolving, just coasting, not creating, not improving, merely surviving. Days blend into weeks, months collapse into years, and suddenly we're chased by the unbearable weight of time lost. The ancient Stoics cautioned us about this exact trap more than 2 millennia ago when Seneca said, "You behave like mortals in what you fear and like immortals in what you crave." That insight wounds because it unveils a stark contradiction in how we live. We're intimidated by minor obstacles, a tense conversation, a demanding workout, the challenge of learning. Yet we behave as though infinite tomorrows await us to pursue our most meaningful goals. We obsess over minor worries while ignoring the major changes that would actually reshape our lives. Time isn't ripped from us. It's not taken away by others. It's freely handed over, minute by minute, action by action, until we awaken, disoriented, wondering what became of our life. The Roman thinker Seneca, who grasped the nature of human procrastination better than nearly anyone, recognized that most people don't actually live. They delay life. They stay in constant preparation, endlessly getting ready to begin, always on the edge of starting. My friend, it's not laziness that destroys human potential. It's postponement, that deceitful voice whispering, later. You'll start taking your health seriously tomorrow. You'll build that company tomorrow. You'll have the hard talk tomorrow. You'll begin investing in your future self tomorrow. But tomorrow is the most dangerous illusion we believe, promising everything but delivering nothing. This pattern of hesitation is the reason so many die with, as Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote, their music still trapped within them. Their unrealized ambitions, unwritten stories, unfounded companies, unlived aspirations. The Stoics embraced a vastly different code. They championed urgency linked to mindfulness, deliberate progress over spontaneous breakthroughs. They knew the space between who we are and who we could be closes only through steady, disciplined action. Marcus Aurelius, the strongest man in the known world, scribbled in his private writings, "When the sun rises and you resist waking, remind yourself your duty is to act as a human." He didn't say emperor. He didn't say ruler. He said human. Because he understood our chief mission isn't chasing status, money, or praise. It's fulfilling our unique potential and becoming all we're capable of. Look around. Many have stopped evolving spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and financially. They've drifted into comfortable passivity. They move through routines without intention, consume without purpose, and mistake existence for life. They've stopped contending for their own possibility, but this message isn't for the satisfied. It's for those who still feel that quiet fire in their chest, the fierce whisper that insists, "I was made for something more." If that blaze still burns in you, it's time to quit negotiating with your potential and begin shaping the future you were meant to live. I'm not here to hand you fleeting motivation that evaporates next week. I'm offering you a strategic alarm clock built on timeless wisdom that has transformed lives for centuries. Because here's the brutal truth. If you keep living passively, trusting there's always another tomorrow, blaming what's outside for what's inside, waiting for a perfect moment that never arrives, you'll eventually reach the end of life carrying a soul full of what-ifs. And regret, as the Stoics taught, is the heaviest weight a person can bear. Epictetus, once a literal slave who rose to global influence as a teacher, asked the question that should haunt anyone putting off their own greatness. How much longer will you wait before expecting excellence from yourself? Answer it truthfully. Haven't you delayed enough? Starting now, I urge you to act with urgency, not anxiety, not chaos, not desperation, but with the unwavering urgency of someone who knows time is the only thing you cannot restore. Construct your life piece by piece, decision by decision, day by day. No one else can do it for you. This is your battle, your path, your creation. In this video, I'll walk you through 7 profound Stoic tenets that won't just shift your mindset. They will catapult you into real, lasting change. These aren't fluffy affirmations or shallow hype. These are battle-tested methods for peak performance proven over centuries. Listen intently. Apply relentlessly. Your life will never be the same. But before we start, if you're genuinely ready to evolve, rather than just flirt with the idea of improvement like this video, subscribe to the channel and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your participation tells me you're ready to move from knowing to doing. If this speaks to your spirit, post it in the comments. No more delay. I build my life now. Principle 1. Don't bargain with your own procrastination. The first foundational rule for building a powerful existence seems simple, yet it's one of the hardest to fully master. You must completely eliminate the inner dialogue that excuses your weakness. You must put an end to the tiring mental arguments that happen each day between the version of you that currently exists and the one you know you're capable of becoming. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king who led the Roman Empire through wars, plagues, and political instability, wrote, "When you don't want to rise in the morning, recall this thought: I rise to perform my role as a human." Let that sink in. The most powerful man of his time, surrounded by opulence and power, still had to confront that voice inside him, begging for rest, ease, and 5 more minutes of evasion. What made Marcus exceptional was not his status. It was that each morning he waged war on that internal whisper of mediocrity. He grasped that the defining battles of our lives are fought in those precise moments where our willpower collides with our desire for ease. That same mindset is essential if you intend to construct something meaningful, because nothing sabotages potential faster than repeatedly negotiating with your inner laziness. Think back over the last few weeks. How many times have you talked yourself out of doing what you promised? Your alarm goes off. You instantly start rationalizing. Just a few more minutes. I'll get up early tomorrow instead. I'm tired because yesterday was tough. You intended to work out but convinced yourself to begin next week. You planned to learn something new but opted to scroll endlessly, pretending it counted as staying informed. And every time you choose comfort over commitment, something subtle yet dangerous happens. Your self-respect begins to corrode. Your trust in your own word fades. You start seeing yourself as someone with great intentions but poor follow-through. As someone who means well but can't even keep promises to themselves. Stoicism never equated discipline with self-punishment or cold rigidity. Instead, they saw it as a sacred duty. Discipline is honor, the deep, quiet honor of knowing you stood by yourself when every part of you wanted the easier route. It's the trust you build with yourself when you make even the smallest promise and keep it. That's where real self-confidence is born. What the Stoics also understood is that laziness isn't one-dimensional. Physical laziness is the most visible, avoiding movement, dodging physical effort. But the more dangerous forms are internal. Mental laziness. Convincing yourself that thinking about goals is the same as working on them. Planning endlessly but never executing. Emotional laziness. Avoiding hard conversations. Postponing necessary changes. Choosing to stay in draining environments because growth is uncomfortable. And finally, spiritual laziness. The refusal to evaluate whether your actions align with your deeper values. The failure to become the person you dreamt, truly admire. Understand this clearly. Laziness isn't just a bad habit. It's a mental pattern that deepens every time you give into it. The more you feed it, the more reflexive and dominant it becomes. But the inverse is also true. Discipline gets stronger with every repetition, every time you choose effort over ease, decision over delay, discomfort over short-term pleasure. The Stoics actively practiced what they called voluntary hardship, deliberately doing difficult things when the easy path was available, rising early when more sleep was tempting, training their bodies when they ached, laboring with their minds when they longed for rest, eating plainly when indulgence was possible, not out of masochism, but to harden themselves for life's inevitable struggles. By pushing through little resistance, they prepared to face much larger ones. When you regularly keep your small promises to yourself, you build the backbone to keep much bigger ones. You create a deep certainty that you can be relied upon, that you are someone worthy of responsibility and opportunity. Ask yourself this: what is laziness costing you right now? It's robbing you of time, the one resource you can never recover. It's costing you chances because while you hesitate, someone with less talent but more discipline is stepping forward. It's draining your confidence because every broken internal promise chips away at your belief in your own ability to follow through. And worst of all, it's draining your future, little by little, not all at once, but through daily choices that erode the life you're capable of. Every time you delay, the world doesn't pause. The business you dreamed of gets built by someone else. The skill you plan to master gets honed by someone more consistent. The relationship you wanted to grow gets nurtured by someone braver. Stoicism teaches that you must gain control over yourself before life forces control upon you. And here's something vital. The perfect time to break laziness is not when you feel inspired. Motivation is short and inconsistent. The right moment to overcome laziness is this one, right now, regardless of how you feel. So how do you cut laziness out of your life using Stoic discipline? First, expect resistance. Don't be shocked when your mind and body crave comfort. That resistance is normal. Everyone faces it. Even Marcus Aurelius fought it. The difference between those who succeed and those who stall isn't absence of resistance. It's their reaction to it. Second, construct routines and systems that don't depend on emotion. Whether you're energized or drained, excited or indifferent, you carry out your habits. You don't decide based on how you feel. You build autopilot momentum. Third, reduce temptation and friction. Don't rely solely on willpower. Set your environment up to win. Want to read more? Keep your phone out of the room. Want to eat clean? Don't bring junk food into the house. Want to train consistently? Lay out your gym gear the night before. Design your world to support your commitments. Fourth, reframe discomfort as confirmation, not punishment. That ache from training, that's your body evolving. That frustration while learning, that's your brain rewiring. That tension during a hard talk, that's you gaining courage. Pain is evidence you're rising. If you're watching this and realizing you've been bargaining with your laziness, begin by offering yourself forgiveness. You can't rewrite the past, but you can completely influence what comes next. From now on, draw a line. The upgraded you no longer cuts deals with weakness. You wake when the alarm sounds. No excuses. You work even while tired because discipline performs when motivation doesn't. You train even without enthusiasm because consistency builds strength. You study even when bored because knowledge compounds. And slowly but surely, these tiny acts of loyalty to yourself will trigger a revolution. Your thinking sharpens, your body strengthens, your character becomes reliable, your life improves not because of luck, but because of repeated disciplined effort. The Stoic road isn't soft, but it's the only one that leads to real excellence, true inner strength, and the deep fulfillment of becoming who you're meant to be. Comfort is a golden cage. Discipline is the escape key. And the only question that matters now is, will you use it? Declare it below. Type this into the comments. I refuse to negotiate with laziness. Principle 2. Create brutal honesty around your purpose. Most people are not failing because they lack intelligence or talent. They are simply unclear. They don't know what they truly want. They don't know why they wake up each day. Their energy is diluted, scattered in too many directions, chasing too many things that don't actually matter. This lack of clarity breeds overwhelm, which then becomes inaction. The Stoics were brutally honest about the human tendency to wander aimlessly. Seneca wrote, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." In other words, it doesn't matter how hard you work, how many hours you put in, or how motivated you feel. If you don't know where you're going, you're just moving in circles. Motion does not equal progress. Modern life tempts us into distraction at every corner. You can spend years being busy without building anything meaningful. You can exhaust yourself chasing goals that weren't even yours to begin with. Dreams inherited from society, from your family, from the culture, not from your soul. You can climb the ladder of success only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. That's why clarity must become a daily, disciplined practice, not a once-a-year journal entry or vision board. True clarity is not found in inspiration. It's forged in confrontation. You have to sit alone and ask hard questions. Who am I becoming? What do I value above all else? Where is my time going? What am I avoiding? What do I tolerate that drains me? What have I outgrown but still cling to out of fear? The Stoics demanded this level of introspection. Marcus Aurelius would reflect deeply every morning and every evening, writing in his journal not for inspiration, but for investigation. He used the page to interrogate his motives, to realign with what mattered, and to strip away anything unnecessary. The problem is most people won't do this work. They don't want to look at their life too closely because they're afraid of what they'll find. So they stay vague, and vague people live vague lives. But those who dare to look clearly without flinching gain an extraordinary advantage, power. Because once you're clear, decision-making becomes effortless. Distractions lose their grip. Your time becomes sacred. You stop entertaining nonsense. You move with intent. Clarity gives your discipline direction. It gives your energy a home. It prevents you from becoming one of those people who are always working hard but never getting anywhere. People who burn out chasing every shiny object, starting and quitting 100 projects because they never stop to define what success actually means to them. Let's make this real. Ask yourself right now, what do I truly want my life to stand for? Not what would impress others. Not what sounds nice on a resume. What matters to you? What are your non-negotiables? The lines you won't cross. The values you won't trade. What kind of relationships do you want to cultivate? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? What kind of mind, body, and spirit do you want to walk the world with? If you can't answer those questions, you will live by default, not by design. You will become reactive instead of proactive. And here's the hard truth. If you don't design your own life, someone else will design it for you. And they won't have your best interest in mind. That's how people become pawns in someone else's vision. Clarity isn't just about having a 5-year plan. It's about knowing what to say no to today. About filtering your daily actions through the lens of your highest aims. It's not about being rigid, it's about being aligned. Aligned people are peaceful, not because their life is easy, but because they know what to ignore. The Stoics taught that a life well lived is one that is guided by wisdom and reflection. Epictetus advised that we should always ask ourselves, is this essential before we act? That question alone can remove 80 of the clutter in your mind and schedule. Because most of what we stress about is not essential. Most of what we consume, chase, and worry about is noise. The opposite of clarity is chaos. It's waking up with no plan. It's checking your phone before your thoughts. It's starting the day reacting instead of directing. Clarity flips that. It puts you in the driver's seat. It makes your goals real. It transforms your energy from scattered to focused, from tired to precise. So how do you build ruthless clarity, the kind that changes your life? Start by defining your destination. Don't just say, I want to be successful. Define what success looks like in detail. Financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What does a powerful life look like to you? Describe it vividly. Because what the mind can picture, the body can pursue. Next, reverse engineer the path. What would someone living that life do each day? What habits would they follow? What distractions would they avoid? What time would they wake up? Who would they associate with? What would they consume? Now compare that to how you're living today. Any gap between that version and your current one is your homework. Then cut the noise. Delete the apps. Say no to the events that don't align. End the relationships that drain your clarity. Stop giving your attention to people who don't respect your energy. Simplify your world so you can amplify your results. Finally, review daily. Clarity isn't a one-time event. It's a maintenance ritual. Each night, ask yourself, did my actions align with my vision? What did I tolerate that I shouldn't have? What small step can I take tomorrow to close the gap? This is how you recalibrate and stay locked in. Remember, the world rewards those who know what they're about. People follow those with vision. They trust those with purpose. The Stoics didn't become immortalized because they were loud. They became immortalized because they lived with extraordinary intention. Clarity is your competitive advantage. In a world addicted to distraction, your ability to focus will set you free. Clarity is freedom. Direction is strength. Post this below if you're ready to live with precision. I live with ruthless clarity. Principle 3. Discipline your emotional boundaries. One of the highest forms of power isn't control over others. It's control over your reactions. The ability to pause before responding. The strength to feel emotion without being dominated by it. The inner distance between what happens and what you choose to do next. This is where emotional freedom begins. In the modern world, outrage is the norm. Offense is currency. Everyone's ready to explode, respond, cancel, or condemn. But the Stoics knew this was weakness wearing the mask of righteousness. True strength, they taught, is found in stillness, not in noise. Epictetus taught, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. That idea should shake you, because it means nobody and nothing has the power to make you angry, upset, jealous, or ashamed unless you allow it. It means you've been surrendering your peace to things you could have ignored. It means your triggers are teachers. This is what separates the Stoic from the reactive. The average person is pulled by every mood, hijacked by every opinion, provoked by every petty inconvenience. They spiral into emotional drama over things they can't control. The Stoic, in contrast, observes. They notice the feeling rise, but they do not become the feeling. They allow the sensation, but they choose the response. Emotional distance is not coldness. It is not detachment from reality. It is detachment from irrationality. It is clarity in the storm. It is choosing to respond with virtue instead of reacting from ego. And in that moment of pause, a world of power opens up. Let's break this down. When someone insults you, your immediate reaction might be to snap back, defend yourself, escalate. But what if you paused? What if you realized the insult said more about them than you? What if you chose to remain centered, unmoved? That's strength. Not because you didn't feel it, but because you weren't controlled by it. When plans fall apart, the weak crumble. They shout, panic, blame, complain. The strong adapt. They adjust with grace. They don't deny their feelings, but they don't drown in them either. They sit with discomfort and ask, what can I control? What lesson is hidden here? This is how Stoicism trains you, not to suppress emotion, but to step back from it, to insert a sacred gap between stimulus and response. That's where self-mastery lives. That's where wisdom resides. That's where peace is born. Not in the absence of hardship, but in the presence of composure. We've been conditioned to think that reacting quickly is a sign of sharpness. It's not. It's a sign of conditioning. It means you're on autopilot, that you've handed your power to outside forces. But emotional distance is a reset button. It's what allows you to live on your terms, not your impulses. Let's make this practical. The next time you feel anger rise, don't suppress it, but don't act on it either. Acknowledge it silently. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to teach me? Is this worth my energy? What outcome do I want? In doing this, you reclaim choice. The next time someone disappoints you, don't rush to judgment. Reflect. Did they really betray you? Or did you place expectations they never agreed to? Did they fail you? Or did you attach your happiness to their behavior? When you feel envy, don't shame yourself, but investigate. Is their success threatening you or exposing where you've been avoiding your own growth? Emotional distance gives you room to reflect instead of react. And in that reflection, you transform the emotion into insight. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by the burdens of empire, repeatedly reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That sentence is a compass. You may not control what the world does, but you always govern what you become through it. This is not easy. Emotional triggers are embedded deep. Some stem from childhood, some from wounds we haven't healed. But every time you pause, every time you refuse to be pulled into the same emotional loops, you weaken their grip. You deprogram yourself. You evolve. This is how warriors are built, not by denying feelings, but by dominating their influence. By standing still while others flinch. By keeping your center when others collapse. The Stoic doesn't fear emotion. They respect it and put it in its proper place. Here's your challenge. Practice responding slowly. Practice holding silence instead of speaking too soon. Practice walking away from emotional bait. Practice choosing calm over chaos. Make it a ritual. Pause. Breathe. Choose. This is your armor. Over time, you'll notice a shift. People will sense your stability. Chaos will lose its hold. Insults will bounce off. You'll stop being pulled into every argument, every drama, every fear spiral. You'll become someone others trust, not just because you're wise, but because you're calm when it counts. And more than anything, you'll trust yourself. Because you'll know you are no longer at the mercy of emotion. You lead it. You guide it. You use it. But it no longer uses you. Declare this below. Make it your code. I control my emotions. They do not control me. Principle 4. Embrace compassion. Total responsibility. There's a truth that hits hard when you finally accept it. No one is coming to save you. Not your boss. Not your parents. Not your partner. Not the government. Not luck. Not some magical twist of fate. Your life is yours. And the sooner you claim full responsibility for it, the sooner you'll gain power. Most people never do this. They live in a state of quiet blame. They point fingers. They rationalize. They craft clever justifications for why they're stuck, broke, lost, or unfulfilled. They'll say, I didn't get the right start, or the economy is against me, or people just don't understand me. It sounds reasonable, but it's poison. The Stoics never tolerated this mindset. They believed that the highest form of strength was ownership, not in the sense of owning possessions, but in owning your role in everything you experience. Epictetus taught that we cannot control what happens, but we are always in command of how we respond. And our response is what shapes our reality. This principle isn't about guilt. It's about authority. It's about reclaiming the part of your life that you've outsourced. Every time you blame someone else, you give them control. Every time you say, I can't because of them, you hand them the steering wheel of your future. And that's not power. That's surrender. Let's be honest. Most of us carry stories that protect us from pain. Stories like, I would have been successful if I had more support. I could be confident if people believed in me. I'd be in shape if I wasn't so busy. But those stories are padded walls. They keep you safe, but they also keep you small. Taking ownership is about shattering those narratives and standing in the discomfort of truth. It's looking at every area of your life, your finances, your relationships, your habits, your health, your time, and asking one simple question. What have I allowed here? What decisions have I made or avoided making that led to this outcome? It's not about self. It's about self, because once you realize you created it, you can change it. That's the key. Ownership unlocks possibility. It transforms you from a victim of circumstances to a creator of direction. Imagine two people facing the same setback. One says, why is this happening to me? The other says, what can I learn from this? One waits, the other moves. One complains, the other adjusts. The one who owns the moment will always outgrow the one who resists it. This is why Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor, never used his status as an excuse. He wrote, you have the power to strip away many unnecessary troubles. They lie entirely in your judgment. That means your suffering is often not in the situation. It's in how you interpret the situation. So ask yourself, where in your life are you waiting instead of acting? Where are you hoping for rescue instead of building a response? Where are you silently blaming instead of actively changing? Because here's the truth. No one owes you a great life, but you owe it to yourself to become someone who creates one. No one is required to believe in you, but you must become the type of person who moves forward without applause. No one is obligated to fix your past, but you can build a future that redeems it. Ownership doesn't mean you won't stumble. It doesn't mean you won't be wrong. It means when you fall, you own it. When you miss, you own it. When you lash out, hide, overthink, or avoid, it means you admit it, correct it, and grow from it. This is how you build unshakable self-respect, not by perfection, but by integrity. The person who owns their flaws becomes unstoppable because no one can use your mistakes against you when you've already claimed them. No one can weaponize your past when you've turned it into fuel. Here's the practical shift. Starting today, remove blame from your vocabulary. Every complaint you feel rising, turn it into a question. What can I do about this? Every time you want to point fingers, point the thumb. Not because you're at fault, but because you're capable. Turn frustration into action. Turn disappointment into a lesson. Turn weakness into a gym. This is the Stoic path. It's not the easiest way, but it's the one that builds warriors. When you live this way, something beautiful happens. You stop needing permission. You stop begging for fairness. You stop looking for shortcuts. You just build quietly, daily, relentlessly, until one day you become the person you used to admire. And when people ask you how you did it, you'll smile, not because you were lucky, but because you were willing to do the work no one saw. You'll know this life, this peace, this power, it's mine. I built it. Type this below as a public declaration of your new standard. I own my life fully and completely. Principle 5. Stop explaining yourself. There comes a moment in your evolution when you no longer feel the need to justify your path to anyone. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. Not because you're better, but because you're becoming. You stop broadcasting your every move. You stop seeking approval for your decisions. You stop shrinking yourself into a version others can understand. Most people won't get it, and that's okay. Your mission wasn't sent to them. It was sent to you. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. There's no mention of explaining it. The Stoics taught that your life is your statement. Your actions are your philosophy. Your progress is your proof. But here's the trap. Many people spend more energy trying to explain what they're doing than actually doing it. They're trying to convince the world they're serious, committed, intentional, when real conviction doesn't need validation. It just shows up in results. If you feel like you need to explain yourself constantly, pause, ask, am I trying to justify my growth to people who are committed to staying the same? Am I dimming my light just to avoid being misunderstood? The truth is, you will be misunderstood, especially as you evolve, especially as you break patterns, especially as you rise in silence. Because people can't understand transformation they haven't experienced. And they often interpret your growth as judgment of their stagnation. That's not your burden to carry. You are not obligated to provide footnotes for your healing. You don't owe anyone a backstory for your boundaries. You don't have to submit a thesis to start fresh. The moment you decided to upgrade your life, you gave yourself permission. That's all that's required. Now, this doesn't mean becoming cold or secretive. It means becoming solid. It means being able to stand in a room of doubters and still walk your path with your head high. It means no longer explaining why you left, why you changed, why you dream bigger, why you demand more, why you stopped showing up for things that drain you. The person you're becoming isn't someone who explains, they embody. Their discipline speaks louder than promises. Their focus silences the need for excuses. Their results quiet every critic. Let's bring this down to the real. Have you ever made a decision you knew was right, but still felt the need to soften it for others? I'm sorry, I just need time. I didn't mean to pull away. I hope you understand. You weren't really sorry. You were simply evolving. You were trying to protect their comfort while sacrificing your own clarity. No more. You are not a defendant on trial. You are not required to prove your worth, your choices, or your pace. Every second spent defending yourself is energy stolen from building yourself. The Stoics didn't parade their values. They practiced them. They weren't loud. They were grounded. They didn't need permission to live with integrity. They gave it to themselves. So here's the shift. Move in silence. Execute relentlessly. Let your peace be loud. Let your character be clear. Let your growth be your explanation. People will talk. Let them. People will speculate. Let them. People will misunderstand. Let them. That is not your business. Your business is showing up. Your business is becoming. Your business is living in alignment with your values, not their expectations. And you'll notice something powerful. When you stop explaining, you start expanding. You reclaim mental space. You rebuild energy. You sharpen focus. You stop looking sideways and begin walking forward. You realize that the need to explain was never about clarity. It was about fear. Fear of being disliked. fear of being alone, fear of being judged. But once you face that fear, it fades, and what's left is liberation. You are not obligated to be accessible to everyone at all times. You are not required to dilute your intensity. You are allowed to outgrow, to evolve, to elevate, and to do it without warning. Make this your new standard. I owe no explanations. I live in alignment. Principle 6. Reinforce your discipline every day. Discipline isn't a one-time achievement. It's not something you master once and keep forever. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't train it consistently, it weakens. If you skip the reps, it fades. If you rely on yesterday's strength, you'll fall short today. That's why the disciplined person doesn't celebrate once and coast. They wake up and build it again and again and again. Not because they're obsessed, but because they understand something the undisciplined never will. Consistency is freedom. Let's clear something up. Discipline doesn't mean grinding every second. It doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means doing what needs to be done, even when it's uncomfortable. It means honoring the promise you made to yourself, especially when no one watching the Stoics lived this principle. They didn't have access to apps, alarms, or habit trackers. What they had was inner accountability. They knew that the path to a virtuous life was paved with repeated action. Not lofty speeches, not intense spurts, but small, consistent effort. Seneca wrote, "While we teach, we learn." The same applies to discipline. While we practice, we reinforce. While we show up, we grow stronger. Each repetition builds identity. Every act of discipline declares, "This is who I am." But here's the truth. No one is disciplined by default. Everyone struggles. Everyone wants to quit sometimes. Everyone hears the voice that says, "You've done enough." It doesn't matter today. You can start again tomorrow. And if you listen to that voice long enough, it becomes your truth. The disciplined person hears it too. They just choose differently. They respond with action, not emotion. They don't negotiate with laziness. They don't wait for motivation. They move, because they know that momentum is built, not given. Discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about returning. Every time you break your rhythm, you get back up. Every time you slip, you tighten the standard. Every day, you reestablish the pattern. That's how you build something permanent. Let's talk practical. Discipline starts before the action. It begins with preparation. What are you doing the night before? What does your morning look like? Are you planning your priorities or reacting to chaos? The disciplined person anticipates distraction. They prepare their space. They guard their time. They define their values in advance so they're not swayed by impulse. They understand that willpower is limited, but systems are sustainable. You don't build discipline through big dramatic changes. You build it by showing up at the same time every morning, by finishing what you start, by pushing for one more rep, one more minute, one more page, when quitting would be easier. Over time, those tiny victories stack up. They become your standard. You begin to crave the feeling of following through. You no longer need hype. You don't need applause. You trust yourself. And that trust becomes your power. This is what separates the committed from the curious. The curious dabble. They show up when it's convenient. The committed don't ask if they do. They don't wait for alignment. They act their way into it. Discipline is a daily vote for your future. And every time you show up, you cast that vote. Every time you choose discomfort over delay, order over chaos, principle over pleasure, you affirm your identity. Don't confuse rest with weakness. Rest is strategic. The disciplined rest so they can return stronger. But they never quit. They never use fatigue as a crutch. They recover, then resume. And here's the beauty of it all. You don't need to feel like it. You just need to begin. Because the act of starting builds the desire to continue. The motion fuels the mindset. The doing creates the drive. Say this now and mean it. I rebuild my discipline every single day. Principle 7. Release what's beyond your control. One of the greatest acts of power is release. Not the loud kind, not dramatic, but silent, subtle, intentional. It's the quiet decision to stop wrestling with what's beyond you, to stop draining yourself trying to fix what was never in your hands to begin with. Most suffering doesn't come from reality. It comes from resistance, from holding on too tightly, to outcomes, to expectations, to stories about how things should go. The Stoics saw this clearly. Epictetus taught, some things are up to us and some things are not. And true peace begins with knowing the difference. You can't control the weather, the traffic, the market, the timing, other people's opinions, reactions, beliefs, or betrayals. You can force someone to grow. You can undo what's done. You can speed up what takes time. But you can control your effort, your attitude, your character, your focus, your interpretation, your next step. And that is where your power lives, not in the chaos, but in the response. Yet most people live inverted. They obsess over what they can't command and neglect what they can. They replay conversations, chase approval, spiral in worry, cling to timelines, and confuse control with care. But control is a myth. What you really want is influence. And influence begins with presence. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care precisely where it counts. It's not indifference, it's clarity. It's recognizing that your energy is sacred and not every fire deserves your fuel. Think about it. How much time have you spent arguing in your mind with someone who isn't even in the room? How many hours lost trying to craft the perfect outcome, only to be derailed by something completely outside your control? Now imagine reclaiming that energy, redirecting it into what actually moves the needle: your habits, your mindset, your preparation, your purpose. That's what Stoicism invites you to do. Not to detach from life, but to engage with it wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not just poetic. It's practical. It's a strategy for sanity in a world you can't predict. When things don't go your way, pause, breathe, ask, is this within my command? If yes, act. If no, accept. That's the pivot. That's the mastery. Not trying to bend life to your will, but learning to bend with it without breaking. This doesn't mean giving up. It means showing up differently, with grace, with detachment, with focus on your role, not the result, with trust in the process, not obsession with the prize. Control is heavy, letting go is light, and the more you release what isn't yours to carry, the further and faster you move. Your hands can't build your future if they're full of the past. So start dropping what weighs you down. The need to be understood, the need for a perfect plan, the need to fix what broke, the need to know exactly how it ends. Release the illusion. Embrace the real. Life is fluid. Growth is nonlinear. Peace is a choice. Say this now and let it settle deep. I let go of what isn't mine to hold. Principle 8. Silence is your strongest tool. In a world that rewards noise, stillness is power. Not weakness, not absence, but control. Silence is not retreat. It's restraint. It's the space between stimulus and response. It's the unshakable presence that says, I see everything, but I don't owe you a reaction. Most people waste their strength proving they have some. They speak just to be heard. They explain, defend, overtalk, and overshare, thinking that being loud is the same as being strong. It's not. True power doesn't compete for attention. It holds its ground quietly. Zeno, the father of Stoicism, said, "The reason why we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth is that we may listen more and talk less." The Stoics understood that silence isn't passive. It's deliberate. It's strategic. It's the difference between reacting emotionally and responding wisely. Think about the last time you stayed silent when you could have snapped. That wasn't weakness. That was you stepping into command. It takes more force to hold your tongue than to throw words. Especially when you're right. Especially when you're angry. Especially when you want to make a point. But here's what silence does. It unsettles. It disarms. It creates space. And in that space, the truth often reveals itself. People expose their intentions. Patterns emerge. Clarity comes, all because you chose not to fill the air with noise. The disciplined mind knows this. Every word costs energy, and not every situation deserves the price. Silence becomes your filter. It protects your focus. It preserves your presence. It gives you time to decide if this moment even requires your input. There's also a deeper layer. Silence teaches you. When you're not speaking, you're observing, you're sensing, you're processing, you're sharpening awareness, and that awareness becomes your edge because most people are too distracted by their own voice to see what's happening around them. Let them talk. Let them underestimate. Let them overexpose. Meanwhile, you're watching, waiting, learning, moving with precision. While others react, you respond. While others speak from emotion, you act from strategy. This isn't about being cold. It's about being selective. It's about choosing your words like arrows, not just to be heard, but to hit. And sometimes the most lethal arrow is none at all. There's also power in making peace with being misunderstood. You don't have to clear up every rumor. You don't need to explain every action. You don't have to defend your growth to people committed to misunderstanding it. Your silence becomes your shield and your actions your proof. This is how the Stoics lived, not to win arguments, but to master themselves. Not to silence others, but to cultivate their own clarity. They knew that inner calm wasn't found in talking, but in knowing when not to. So, next time you're tempted to react, ask, does this need my voice or does it need my silence? Is this about truth or just ego? Is this a fight or a distraction? When you choose silence, you're not walking away. You're standing taller. You're saying, I don't lower myself for noise. I rise above it. Make this your mantra. My silence is not absence. It's authority. Principle 9. Choose discomfort over convenience. Comfort is seductive. It whispers promises of ease, safety, and pleasure, but it rarely delivers strength. It rarely builds grit. It rarely prepares you for the storms that dawn. Care how cozy your life feels. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you trade growth for stagnation. You trade sharpness for softness. You trade potential for peace of mind. And slowly, almost without noticing, you become a version of yourself that can't handle adversity because you've trained yourself to avoid it. The Stoics didn't worship comfort. They tested themselves against discomfort on purpose. Cold baths, simple meals, long fasts. Why? Because they knew that comfort weakens the will, but hardship reveals it. Seneca advised, set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition that I feared? It wasn't about suffering. It was about building proof that you can endure, that you can function, that your worth is not tied to luxury. Here's the truth. You cannot grow inside your comfort zone. You must step beyond it, into discomfort, into effort, into environments that stretch, humble, and sharpen you. Not because you enjoy the pain, but because you've chosen the path of becoming. Growth demands sacrifice, discipline, delayed gratification, early mornings, repetition, risk. And none of these things exist in comfort. Comfort says stay. Growth says go. Comfort says you've done enough. Growth says there's more in you. And here's what's even more dangerous about comfort. It's addicting. It makes you soft, then tells you softness is self-love. It dulls your instincts, then convinces you instinct doesn't matter. It promises peace, then leaves you unprepared for reality. Real peace isn't found in a soft life. It's found in a strong one. One that can face pressure, rejection, setbacks, and change and remain grounded. That kind of peace only comes through challenge, through friction, through earned resilience. You don't have to reject all pleasure, but you must reject dependency. You must train yourself to be okay without the things most people think are essential. You must be dangerous without being hostile, unshakable without being numb. Let's go practical. Stop chasing convenience. Choose the hard workout, the uncomfortable conversation, the book instead of the scroll, the fast instead of the feast, the silence instead of the noise. Make it a habit to do what's hard, not because it's fun, but because it forges you. There's a fire inside you that only ignites under pressure. You will not access it sitting still. You won't find it in comfort. You find it in pursuit, in the climb, in the challenge, in the choice to do what most people won't. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's tiring. Yes, it's easier to quit. But that's the very reason you must persist. Because the comfort everyone else worships is the very trap you refuse to fall into. You are not built for comfort. You were built for greatness. Declare it now. I choose the difficult path. I reject the easy one. Principle 10. Keep your mind fortified. Your mind is your command center. It's where your thoughts form, where your choices begin, where your entire life is shaped from the inside out. And yet, most people guard their phones with passwords, their homes with locks, but leave their mind wide open to whatever noise walks in. You wouldn't let just anyone into your house, so why let them into your head? Every day your mind is under siege. Algorithms fight for your attention. Opinions flood your feed. Negativity disguises itself as truth. And if you're not conscious, if you don't choose what enters your mental space, you'll wake up one day thinking thoughts that aren't even yours. That's why the Stoics treated the mind like sacred ground. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts. They didn't say that to sound poetic. They said it because they knew the cost of letting your inner life be shaped by the outer world. If you want clarity, peace, strength, you must curate your inputs, protect your mornings, guard your evenings, choose your conversations, audit your influences, train your mind like a warrior sharpens his blade, deliberately, consistently, and without apology. You don't rise above chaos by consuming more of it. You don't become focused by swimming in distraction. You don't become calm by soaking in drama. Your mind becomes what it's fed. So feed it with wisdom, with discipline, with truth, with stillness. This isn't about isolation. It's about filtration. It's not that you ignore the world. It's that you decide what deserves your focus. You become intentional about where your attention lands because attention is energy and energy is finite. Your future is built with your thoughts. So the real question is, are you building a fortress or a prison? If your mind is filled with fear, judgment, envy, comparison, anger, and noise, don't expect peace. But if it's grounded in purpose, order, principle, and awareness, strength becomes your default. Here's how you protect your mind. You take time to be alone. You read instead of scroll. You move your body to move your mood. You speak to yourself like you would a friend you respect. You catch the lie before it becomes a belief. You choose to respond, not react, and you stay vigilant because negativity is subtle. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it sounds like reason. But the disciplined mind recognizes the difference between wisdom and worry and cuts off the intruder before it settles in. This is your final defense, not against the world, but against the weakening of your own spirit. The strong mind isn't born. It built in silence, built in struggle, built in the choice to control your narrative before the world writes it for you. Repeat this now. My mind is mine. I choose what stays. I protect what matters. Final declaration. You've walked through 10 disciplines, 10 ancient truths reimagined for modern strength. Not flashy, not trending, but eternal, quiet, unshakable. These are not hacks. These are habits, not comfort zone quotes, but cornerstones for a life of principle. If you've made it this far, it means you're not interested in merely surviving. You're here to live with power, with clarity, with intention, with honor. The world will offer you 1,000 escapes. It will tempt you to shrink, to numb, to chase approval, to seek shortcuts. But these 10 truths are your reminder. You don't need more noise. You need more self. You don't need permission. You need purpose. You don't need applause. You need alignment. Every single principle you absorbed here is a tool, an anchor in the storm, a compass in chaos, a mirror when you forget who you are. Use them daily, say them aloud, write them down, etch them into your routine, your actions, your thoughts. Because transformation doesn't happen in a moment. It happens in repetition, through small decisions made over and over, until you become someone you don't recognize in the best possible way. Let this become your declaration. I am no longer driven by emotion, noise, or the world's pace. I move by reason, by discipline, by principle, by truth. I honor silence. I choose discomfort. I guard my thoughts. I no longer explain who I am. I embody it. And when the world tries to distract you, shake you, rush you, or define you, return to these 10. They are not just rules. They are your edge, your protection, your code.